Title: Hurricane Melissa Unleashes Chaos. Santo Domingo. Drowns. 15 lives lost. Transcript. Brace yourself. It started as just another Thursday in Santo Domingo, the vibrant heart of the Dominican Republic. Traffic clogged the streets during the afternoon rush. Vendors shouted over the hum of city life along bustling sidewalks. George Washington Avenue stretched lazily along the turquoise coastline beneath a serene sky. No one felt the dread. It was just another day in a city pulsing with energy. But at 2 p.m., the first raindrops struck. Timid at first, a mere whisper of what was to come. Then the heavens unleashed their fury. Rain pounded harder, faster, merciless. In minutes, the sky turned to ink. Thunder roared like a beast over the skyline, and a torrential wall of water slammed into the capital. Storm drains erupted, spewing torrents across intersections. Streets of a global metropolis vanished under a rising tide. People stood frozen as floodwaters swallowed car doors, then windows, then entire vehicles. Drivers fled in terror, abandoning their cars. Entire neighborhoods plunged into darkness as power failed, with floodwaters surging past doorsteps. This wasn't a monstrous Category 5 hurricane. This wasn't a coastal storm surge. This was a tropical storm, moving so slowly it turned Santo Domingo into a city drowning in despair. On that day, nearly 3 million souls learned a chilling truth. You don't need a hurricane to be submerged in chaos. No. Tropical storm. Melissa didn't roar in with ferocious winds or towering waves. Its menace was its sluggish crawl. Lingering over the Caribbean's warm waters, it stalled, defying nature's rhythm. Meteorologists watched in alarm as this slow-moving beast trapped itself in a low-pressure system, gorging on warm ocean air and unleashing endless rain over the Appalachian edge of the Caribbean. By early afternoon on October 23rd, rain hammered Greater Santo Domingo, not the usual tropical burst that fades quickly, but a relentless deluge that battered rooftops and roads without mercy. Weather radar revealed a sinister spiral of thunderstorms, marching in formation, one band after another, dumping their wrath on the same battered region. In hours, over 16 inches of rain drenched the south. The ground, already sodden from earlier storms, became a saturated sponge, unable to drink another drop. Water roared downhill from higher terrain, overwhelming creeks and storm channels already bursting at the seams. From above, the capital looked trapped under a suffocating gray shroud, a storm that refused to budge, refused to weaken, refused to let Santo Domingo breathe. This was no ordinary tropical storm. Melissa had chosen its prey, a city of nearly 3 million souls. Oh, the horror. By late afternoon, Tropical Storm Melissa's wrath turned catastrophic. Storm drains beneath Santo Domingo's busiest avenues buckled under impossible pressure. Manhole covers rocketed skyward as water exploded upward like geysers. Traffic, already sluggish, froze as visibility vanished in sheets of rain so thick it felt like midnight had descended. On Independencia Avenue, commuters watched in horror as water climbed over hoods, then windows, then engulfed entire vehicles. Drivers fled, wading through waist-deep currents that clawed at their legs with every desperate step. In low-lying neighborhoods like Los Mina, El Mirador, and Vista Hermosa, brown floodwaters crashed through front doors, sweeping away furniture, appliances, and cherished memories into the streets. City buses stalled mid-route. Storefronts shattered under the water's relentless pressure. Motorcycles and trash bins were dragged down roads like playthings in a raging river. The air reeked of gasoline and mud as transformers exploded overhead, their blue flashes glinting off the water now dominating the city. From above, Santo Domingo no longer resembled a thriving metropolis. It was a shattered mosaic of islands, each surrounded by treacherous, fast-moving currents. Residents dialed emergency lines, only to learn that many routes were already submerged, unreachable. Melissa had transformed the city's arteries of commerce and movement into deadly waterways, stranding families and plunging the capital into a desperate fight against a flood no one saw coming. As floodwaters devoured the streets, a new terror struck. Darkness. Melissa's relentless winds tore ancient trees from the earth, sending them crashing into power lines already weakened by the deluge. Transformers erupted in cascades of blue sparks like silent lightning tearing through the sky. Entire districts from San Cristobal to Monte Plata were swallowed by blackout. In homes, families huddled by candlelight, their cell phones casting feeble glows as the roar of rushing water echoed just outside. Without power, pumping stations failed and the nation's water infrastructure collapsed. 51 drinking water systems shut down, leaving over 647,000 people without clean water in the midst of a flood. Essential services crumbled. Government offices shuttered, schools locked their gates, and hospitals teetered as emergency generators flickered. Even rescue teams were stalled, their paths swallowed by dark, flooded streets. In some neighborhoods, the only light came from the distant flicker of emergency vehicles, their red and blue beams dancing on the brown water. Residents stood at their windows, staring in silence at a city they no longer recognized. For Santo Domingo, night fell early and it brought a bone-chilling fear. When darkness cloaked the capital, terror settled in its wake. The city's familiar glow was gone, replaced by the eerie flash of emergency lights reflecting off floodwaters. Rescue teams battled through the night in grueling conditions, navigating inflatable boats through streets turned into raging rivers. They dodged overturned cars and swirling debris, never knowing what dangers lurked beneath the muddy surface. In areas too treacherous for boats, responders waded on foot, forming human chains to fight the currents threatening to sweep them away. Temporary shelters overflowed with exhausted, soaked families, clutching whatever possessions they'd salvaged. Volunteers handed out blankets and water as parents struggled to calm terrified children amid the chaos. Overhead, helicopters scoured rooftops for stranded residents, but heavy rain, low visibility, and unpredictable winds made air rescues perilous. With every hour, the storm's relentless assault tested the city's endurance. For thousands trapped in the dark, the uncertainty of how much worse it could get was as terrifying as the rising waters. For rescue crews, pushing through the longest night of their lives, hope for dawn was their only guide. While Santo Domingo fought to survive, Melissa's wrath spread beyond the capital. As the storm crept inland, its ceaseless rain soaked the Dominican Republic's mountainous regions, turning steep hillsides into ticking time bombs. Entire stretches of rural roads vanished under cascades of mud and rock. Remote communities, already fragile due to their isolation, were cut off from help. Families in hillside homes woke to the sickening sound of earth shifting beneath them, knowing a landslide could erase their world in seconds. In coastal provinces and low-lying plains, rivers burst their banks spreading for miles, swallowing bridges, severing bus routes, and isolating neighborhoods desperate for food, medical care, and rescue. The nation's infrastructure groaned under the weight of water. Highways buckled, drainage channels choked with debris, tunnels filled entirely, trapping vehicles inside. The storm exposed the fragile threads connecting communities to the world. A single washed-out road or collapsed bridge meant total abandonment. As the rain pounded on, response teams struggled to grasp the disaster's scale, knowing every isolated area held people waiting in terror with no escape. As Tropical Storm Melissa finally drifted away from Hispaniola, Santo Domingo emerged from the floodwaters to face a heart-wrenching reality. Streets once alive with energy were buried in mud and debris. Homes that stood for generations were gutted in a single night. Thousands of families now face a grueling journey to rebuild. One shattered window, one lost memory, one rebuilt wall at a time. But Melissa left more than destruction in its wake. It delivered a deafening warning. Our climate is shifting. Warmer oceans are fueling slower, wetter storms, turning disasters like this into a new, terrifying normal. If a tropical storm, not even a hurricane, can drown a capital city in hours, what happens when the next one strikes? And the one after that? If this story shook you, don't let it fade. Like this video to spread the truth. Share it with someone who cares about the future we're all facing. Subscribe for more raw stories about our changing world. Now, we want your voice. Are we ready for the storms ahead? Should governments pour more into climate-resilient cities and infrastructure? What would you do if your street became a river overnight? Your voice matters as much as these stories. Together, we can ensure these warnings echo loud and clear.